Okay, so we'll get started on the Economic Development, Historic Preservation, and Environmental Conservation Committee meeting this morning. I did not receive any public concerns that wanted to be stated at the meeting this morning. So I guess we can move right to minutes. Oh wait, sorry, I'll do roll call. Our Metroplex representative, Dr. Horton, is online with us today. Everybody, this is the planning intern, master's student in planning from the University of Albany. His name is Jack Connolly. Jeannie Fody, who is now officially the confidential secretary to the supervisor. So congratulations, Jeannie. Dart Strayer, Kevin Walsh, Jamie Buccioni, Matt Yetto, Beth Greenwood, Dennis Brennan, and Elena Finnan. Did anybody have a chance to look at the minutes?
Yep. I'll move that the minutes be adopted with just a minor comment. I think under the planning partner reports, you say see attached several locations, probably copy and paste there.
Yeah.
We're not going to attach all the full agenda from last time, so just need to see attached a few locations.
Okay, so if it's going in and out of cell phone range. There's a second?
Yeah, I'll second it.
Start. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, so those minutes are passed. The resolutions, I broke them out between organizational meeting and regular meeting. The organizational meeting has, you know, our typical reappointments to the boards. I think John Hoke's 7-year term was up, so he's up for reappointment, and then two of the alternates, and then the zoning board chair we kept as Keith Berry. For planning board, Daisy Shenfield spends a lot of her time split between Niskuna and Lake Placid now, and felt like she wasn't able to give enough time to Niskuna. So she stepped down at the end of her term, so we'll be moving Leslie into her spot. And then attached to I attached Joseph Drescher's resume, and he's on the comprehensive plan right now. I'm excited to work with him. I would definitely recommend him as the alternate. And so I think that resolution can take care of all that. And then Kevin was kind and gracious enough to be willing to be chairman of the planning board again, so he's on that one. Conservation Advisory Council, they all get reappointed every year. And Tree Council, I think there are 2 individuals, Amanda Matuzik and then a new person from the union, Leo Fleischman. So we're gonna have a bunch of union professors on the Tree Council, which is very exciting. Excited by that. Hi, John. We're just going through the organizational meeting.
Yes, and it's great that we got quite a few new members on the
Yes.
committee meetings.
Yeah, and I think Jamie helped a lot. She's been finding people.
That's great. And Amanda, I think, has been on the conservation.
She was on the CAC. She's also helped with complete climate
That's
smart.
right.
But she wants to focus on Tree Council. It's her favorite.
That's excellent.
And then Complete Streets Committee, again, everybody gets reappointed on that one. Same with Climate Smart Communities. Climate Smart Communities Coordinator, I have to just double check with Daryl, but he's normally our Climate Smart Communities Coordinator. So I'll just make sure that he's okay, but that's the name on there for now. And then I think one of our really good Architectural Review Board members, Stacy, said she'd be willing to another term on the Architectural Review Board. So that was very nice. And then I'm not actually sure if you put it on the organizational or the regular, but I wanted to rehire my students in organization. Okay, that's very nice. So I have 2 very good high school interns, Zach Friedman and Raj. And like Zach in particular, we had him this last week, and he's practically functioning as a full member of our department. He's very helpful. He helped, you know, Jack's getting used to our, you know, our office, and Clark even took the time to stop Zach and just be like, "You did a great job this week." So I would love to reappoint him.
Speaking of Clark, is he usually attending these meetings now, or?
He just has. They fall on a time that I think is hard for him because he has the day off today. But yeah, if he's here, he comes. For the regular meeting, did anybody have any questions on those? For the regular meeting, I have a kind of complicated thing I was talking to Elena about, which I still have to really put together. But New York State is requiring that we update our uniform code for minimum standards of administration and enforcement. So Elena and I really just have to sit down between the code that the state is telling us that we have to adopt in our code and make sure that everything's covered with the code that they, I don't want to like repeal and adopt a brand new building code. I do not want to do that because their sections are different than ours. But I think what we can do is take whatever their sections are that are different and incorporate it into our code. If we repealed and reenacted, all our citations would be off because we've been citing certain sections of codes for like, I don't even know how long. And I really don't want to do that. So we have to sit down with that. I believe once we're ready to look at that, it'll likely be a local law. So on the regular meeting, I put the introduction of the local law and a resolution calling for a public hearing.
Is there any time constraint on that?
The time thing, yes, they actually wanted us to do it in 2022. So we're behind the ball on it.
Did you also want a tentative resolution to appoint the account clerk?
Yeah, I wrote that down when I saw you because you've been so helpful when you were back. I don't know if we'll have a name, but if we could at least put a tentative appointment of an account clerk. Beth has been, she's been working with the civil service for me like day and night, and I have a question for her like every 2 seconds about how it works. So we have 2 people that are still on the list that we're going to talk to. I'm actually going to talk to both of them today and see if we want to set up interviews for next week. And then we're still working on maybe one more, or maybe we would go out to the town. We'll see when we get everything locked in. Is that fair?
It is, yeah, we canvassed a list, but we've only gotten 2 responses that are positive. 8 negative, or sorry, 6 negative, and 1 person that we can't seem to reach. So I've got to make due diligence effort to reach that 3rd person. And if we can't reach that person, then the list isn't valid. So yeah, it's been a process.
And if the list isn't valid,
Then we can go out into town.
yes.
But then they are provisional, have to take the test. It had a whole other can of worms, right? So.
Thank you.
Yeah. Did anybody have anything else they want to add to those? I didn't have anything for discussions unless anybody had any open discussions. Otherwise, you could probably have to have in.
Okay, thank you. Planning board updates. Since our last economic development meeting, we got a couple of resolutions. 2721 Balltown Road. We made a positive recommendation to the ZBA that they grant the use variance for the Ritmo additional apartment buildings, but the ZBA denied that use variance, so that's off the table now for the planning board. 1515 Hillside, Crest Village Apartments. We've been dealing with the signage for a while, so we finally came through that and got some new signage approved. Things that we're working on, Mohawk Golf Club, as we're all probably pretty sure of, has been changed to a residential average density development subdivision, 10 single family homes and 12 townhomes. But we're still working through sketch plan. Once we get through sketch plan, we'll have to have a public hearing and make a recommendation to the town board, and the town board will have to have a public hearing and take action on a special use permit if that goes forward. So it'll be coming your way sooner or later.
Hopefully later.
Yeah, Elena, can you provide a little guidance on what would happen if they are members of the town board who are also members of the golf course?
Well, I know in planning board we have them recuse themselves, so that would be my recommendation for the town.
Yeah, we've recused in the past, although it's different now because previously the Mohawk Club was you actually were in ownership of it because it wasn't private.
So bought a share.
Yes, you bought a share of it. So you still, now you don't have a share in it, but still the prudent thing to do would be to recuse
The
yourself.
question is whether or not you have a quorum after people recuse or not.
That was my follow-up question. How many members of the board are also members of the country club?
I believe just
Interesting.
All right, let's see.
I might say how about both be
Yeah, let's see.
unanimous.
Yeah, unanimous, yeah. Brookshire Drive, that's Tall Oaks apartment, that's a new application, we're working on new signage there. Looks like we have a resolution for the upcoming meeting Monday night. Trinity Baptist Church, that's something we've been working on, the recreation area that they want to build. It looks like they update their site plans, so we'll talk about that on Monday night also. The Volcano Korean Barbecue, we just gotta take a look at their signage, because that was an open item from their previous approval. And 1758 Union Street, that's a tenant change from a medical office to a general office. And we also have a resolution on that on Monday night. So new things that I haven't had a chance to look at, I'll be in the packet this weekend, or I'll get the chance to take a look at, is 3900 State Street, which is the Kia car dealership. Looks like they want to buy or have bought some neighboring lots, and they want to increase their parking or stowage of their vehicles on site. So we'll have to work through site plan there. Probably engineer probably have to get involved, possible drainage issues there. And then there's a 2-lot minor subdivision on Antonio Park. I believe that's the Polsinelli parcel. Looks like they want to subdivide, maybe shed some property over to Mr. DC. And then there's just several items that we're just waiting on applicants that are just on hold, such as the Rivers Ledge apartments. We're waiting for them to come through their design, which just turned out to be pretty expensive. So they're really looking at how they want to do that building. And of course, they'll go to the architectural review board as part of that review. And that's it.
Anybody have any questions on that?
What was the sticky point with 2721 Balltown?
Well, it was a ZBA,
Yeah.
and I don't think they showed financial proof per the ZBA, so they didn't grant their use variance.
Yeah, use variances aren't a balancing test. They have to meet each of the 4 sort of prongs of the use variance, and I don't think they got over the financial burden case. Although maybe there's a couple of them. that were an issue.
Yeah. But the financial's difficult, right? Because they have to show that they can't survive without the variance, or
Or the
project-
payback period could be really extensively long. The investment was a poor investment or based on market climate. But the thing is, I don't think they gave any real numbers except
They
for
didn't really give anything at all other than their opinion.
I think they were actually hoping that they would.
It's sort of self-imposed, actually, because
Oh.
they got into the project.
Well,
more.
that was
I
where.
think they were
yeah,
hoping
there was
that
more
the
than just-
interpretation would have been overruled by the planning department, but it wasn't.
Self-imposed makes it much more difficult as well. Yeah,
I mean, that's my opinion,
Yeah.
based on.
sure.
Or one thing, at what point do we bring the engineer and the developer in to discuss utility concerns for the block project?
Yeah, I mean, we put it in our agenda statement and we said it at a couple meetings, like, they need to reach out to you and schedule a meeting as soon as possible. And that's been something that's been said to them for the last month. So, because that can be a potentially huge hurdle for them that they're not exploring.
Well,
But
I just wanted them to know
They're
that
told to
when it
reach
goes
out to you
yeah,
guys.
Okay,
I don't know that it's your job to reach out to them, but we've been telling them to reach out to you.
if they show on Monday night, we can remind them again.
The CAC, we brought that up as well.
Multiple times.
one thing I mentioned more in the past, that parcel is in a high pressure zone,
Mhm.
which we have limited storage for tankage. And that's always been something we've watched. We're pretty close to maximum capacity for that. So I just want to make sure that that's addressed or included in the review of possible design.
So we actually put them on notice of the issue in a letter, in a formal
Okay.
letter to them. And it's been brought up at the CACI, the planning board, that they need to reach out to you.
Yes, thank you.
We do feel like that could be potentially a really tough thing for them to figure out. No, Louis was in the night here. I started taking over because he was gone.
That's okay.
To the
You're
zoning
doing a
board.
heck of a job.
We only have 2 cases for the zoning board. In January, they're both residential fencing cases, so no use variances. So it'll be a short meeting. For the grant update, most of the construction I think is quiet, and I know Jamie's actually been working on a couple of things related to a grant, but I've been trying to help her for quotes on the deck for the Lions Park train station. I don't know if Dennis was copied on the email, but this morning Jim sent an email to us. The quote from a contractor, I think, was just a rough estimate. It came in high, so Jim thought that the quote was high, so he's working on trying to bring it down a little and really figure out what the estimate can be. So he just sent us an email on it this morning.
What is the scope of work?
So it's basically just taking the deck down, which is in pretty bad condition, and putting a new one back. And when you do that, it has to be ADA accessible.
Okay.
But Jim McKinney is like a historic restoration guy who has a lot of experience with ADA accessibility as well. And so he's able to redesign the deck in a historic way. Although there's some things that you can't kind of avoid with ADA, like the metal, they have to be like
The
but he can put, he has a lot of different ideas, but you can sort of put wood in front of the rails, so the rails are inset from the wood. There's all kinds of things you can do. I mean, there's still a ramp, but it'll basically maintain the integrity of the train station and then allow accessibility.
It's phenomenal that
He's
really
amazing.
Yeah,
He's
we
so
all of
amazing.
his
We owe him a big
expertise
debt.
is now
Done a tremendous-
saving us tremendous amount of money.
Yeah, so we did have a resolution thanking him, but he's amazing. Like
He did this building, right? Just,
yeah,
Yeah,
he's just a retired architect and he maintains his architectural license or engineering license, one or the other. And
has all his own equipment.
it's
That's all
just
the toys.
amazing what he's doing. Like we actually got a quote from the engineering because the engineers misunderstood what I was asking them. And it was like $3,000.
No kidding.
Yes.
Wow. And this deck will be done hopefully with an eye in the future to doing something more with the train station.
Yeah, he's setting it up so we made sure, those Jamie's questions, that if we do the deck, we don't have to like take the deck down to do the continual restoration. And he said no, that it won't interfere with continued restoration. But after we're done with the deck, he's gonna come up with a plan to do the full restoration. So and then
We'll continue to seek additional funding to support that.
yep, and he said he'd even help us with the grants because I think we talked about this before, but he did grants for Emily Dickinson's house in
I say Massachusetts.
oh, Massachusetts.
Well, we'll have to do something a little bit more than a resolution.
I agree.
Cupcakes.
I can put a homemade batch together. That's not a problem.
He's very cool. And Dennis helps a lot with him.
I think the town has to work on some long-term kind of efforts at maintaining the ground around that railroad station. That needs a lot of work.
Like that things have grown up underneath the deck, which
Yeah.
made it hard for him to be able to get down there and see the footings. Yeah. So, complete streets, I mean, in addition to the things that they normally do with the planning board projects and everything, we had pulled the Plum Street sidewalk off the table in 2022 just for funding issues, but I believe that we should be able to fund it in 2023. We sort of put a matrix together. So I just got to sit down with my numbers from 2022 and see if we're ready in 2023 and then try and get this, trying to get that moving early so that we get good bids on it. Pre-council, working real hard on the street tree master plan. I gave that to Jack did I give it to you yet? I might not have, but he's gonna help me with that because he's helping with pretty much all the planning. And then, I know we've been working through some questions about the tree planting, so maybe at some point we can have another meeting with like Jamie about the department or something.
I can do the CAC.
Yeah, you want to see
Yeah,
it?
for the CAC, we've been looking at two projects. One is the Mohawk Art Club, and I believe we've had some very constructive conversations with the Art Club, so I've been encouraged by how those discussions have moved forward. We've also looked at 3900 State Street, just I'm gonna say, and we made some recommendations for the planning board on that. In addition to that, we're moving ahead with the Lomo area and maintaining that. We're also going to reach out to Momentum and GE and discuss potentially Lomo in that area as well. GE has sort of done it in some areas, not other areas. We want to get some feedback, and I think Momentum will certainly provide an opportunity to do that as well. We are also in conjunction with the NRI, we are beginning to explore ways to conserve land and mechanisms. And there's several mechanisms within New York State various like easements, transfer of development rights and stuff like that, and funding opportunities. So we're beginning to go into conjunction with EDHPEC, which we continue to do. We planted wildflower seeds with the Schenectady County Soil Conservation, and the map is attached. So we're making good progress, both reviewing projects and as well as these other tasks that we've taken on. So a lot of enthusiasm in committees, and that's good.
Yeah, I'm excited to see the wildflowers bloom in the spring.
Yeah, it's going to take a couple years. It's going to take a couple years to build it up. It's not a one-time.
And we've got that in our side yard. Yes, my husband planted the wildflowers, and I was like, so where are these wildflowers you keep talking about?
Take a while.
They're coming. Okay.
Yeah,
That's what's going on.
my father-in-law did the same thing, and I think he was disappointed the first year when it wasn't
They really don't move.
blooming, but it takes a while.
Good. I will encourage him to continue.
Yeah,
That's
some,
his domain.
some of the EDHPEC will put in annuals which flower the first year,
Yes.
just to kind of get around.
Mingle. That's
the
right.
mingle, so that you get a flush of color in the first year while the perennials are building themselves up because they take a lot longer to bloom. But I don't think there's any annuals in this that I know of.
Might be nice to do a little workshop about that
Yeah,
for residents.
yeah. So the Schenectady County Soil and Water Conservation, Nick, it's escaping me for a second, but he is just so incredibly helpful. When I run into other organizations, like he's helping the schools right now plant trees in their properties, both City of Schenectady schools. He's helping set up I think a City of Schenectady composting program or something. Like everywhere that I run into people, like he's out there doing good work. So I just felt like he was a great resource. We split how that worked. Like the CAC in my department bought the wildflower seeds, and he brought compost that they make from Schenectady County Soil and Water and put it down. Put cardboard and put the compost down, and then I put the seeds in the compost. So so that was a lot of work that they donated to us, and it's very helpful and very grateful. And he's willing to do it sort of every year. We can just keep chunking away at it and adding more wildflower seeds. It felt like we planted seeds forever, and then you look at the map, and the seeds are the little orange spots. like that's,
Oh, no kidding, right there.
It's a long-term project.
But we'll chunk away. I didn't hear any negatives about the Lomo this year. I think it looked really nice. They mow a nice wide path through it. If anything, I think it looked actually nicer. So
That's the path outlined.
yeah,
Yeah.
the blue path is the path that you walk, and then it's not mowed. Probably for like
Mhm.
10 feet on either side. The yellow is the long grass, and then the orange is where we planted the wildflower seeds.
It was interesting when we first met with the residents. We didn't really know what to expect, but I think most of them were very supportive.
They were.
Allowing the grass to grow and giving a more natural environment look. So,
It doesn't really hamper the use of the
Yeah.
park.
yeah, well, nobody really
Yeah.
used that part
Right.
there, and with the path there, it actually makes a nice walk.
Sure, absolutely.
Yeah, I mean,
That's
people
great.
definitely walk through, but now you sort of have a dedicated place. to
Yeah,
walk through.
and it's kind of interesting because a couple years ago with the NRI, when we had the naturalist come up, we walked through the former landfill. It's incredible. If you walk with somebody who's trained, the amount of wildlife that is that's in that grassland is
Wow.
pretty substantial. So one of the things I'd like to do is I'd like to put some interpretive signs up at some point,
Sure.
after we get this developed.
And is that because of the compost of the landfill? It's better.
No,
more
it's because of the
fertile?
long grass.
Yeah.
There's a lot of
Hasn't
grassland
really-
birds where they don't really have a lot of place for habitat, but this provides a good
Mhm.
habitat.
Sure.
That's about it.
What is Schenectady County Soil and Water? How do they fit in? What are their duties, so
Yeah.
to speak?
So they're a county organization. Their headquarters is on Hetcheltown Road. You probably actually think of bringing your recycling and buying compost from them.
Uh-huh.
If you're going down Hetcheltown Road right across from that preserve, there's all the solar panels, and there's a little building with a bunch of stuff there.
Yeah, yeah.
That's the Schenectady County Soil and Water Conservation. But they're actually a county organization that's that helps all the communities within Schenectady County with all kinds of things. They can help us with leaf composting, regular composting, because they're a composting facility. They help us with planting trees because they actually do a tree sale every year, and it's part of their mission to get trees and things out there. I think they can test your soil. If not, they can help get your soil tested. And they also do help with like stormwater issues, water conservation types of things.
So they're
Because
involved in development, like in if you were to get a permit for something, do you have to
no,
go?
you don't do any
Okay.
permits with them.
Alright.
They're basically just a pretty awesome organization that helps all of the different.
Do they do anything with you, Matt?
We've used them in the past, they sit on the, Schenectady County Water Quality Coordinating
do.
Committee.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
they provide
Yeah.
training, I think they even help farming as well, right?
Yes, they
Yeah.
do. They're kind of like a Cornell Cooperative Extension, but they're for Schenectady County, and so they're funding. Like that's why he's able to help us and bring compost and help us with trees, because he's actually the one that planted all the trees on Dean Street for us last year.
Excellent.
Yeah, so like they're able to do work in this unit because we're within Schenectady County, and they have a budget to help Schenectady
Yeah.
County. So,
All right.
Climate Smart Communities Task Force, I think they are, reached out to them, we're getting excited to start work on the grant. Had a couple more emails with DEC yesterday, so I think we're pretty much ready to go. I didn't want to take off the bullet point for the multimodal alternative fuel truck voucher incentive program, because I really think that that is a pretty neat thing for us to explore. And then, even though the compost bin day is under Climate Smart Communities, because the $5,000 came through the Climate Smart Communities grant, two members of our CAC, Ellen Daviera and Mickey Vaisohali, are going to help. So I sort of have a compost bin day team put together, and we're gonna work on ordering some of those things and picking a day and getting that ready to go. The Architectural Review Board had a good meeting the last couple weeks ago. Lou Lisi's building on Eastern Parkway, which is, there's like a kind of relatively abandoned one-story building over there. Got planning board approval to put a 3-story building, I think, which is mixed use, so a little bit of office space at the bottom and then 2 residential floors above. And it was on hold, I think, because his architect was having some health issues and he wanted to support him. But I believe that he's doing better, and he had submitted a new plan, which went to the Architectural Review Board. They still had a couple comments, but it's looking a lot better. It's a tall building, so the Architectural Review Board really wants to make sure that they're going to mitigate the look of that height as much as possible. But it is going to be a nice looking building, I think. So it's getting closer to actually getting
Apartments on top, probably.
It's actually, so
It's 8 units, isn't it? I think it's
I
8.
think it's actually 10. I think there's 4 on the second floor and the third floor, and there's actually 2 units on the bottom floor. And then there's 2 spaces for commercial.
And is he proposing what the commercial would be, or probably not? Yeah,
I
right.
don't think he had tenants. It's set up for office, I think. Yeah. Like one side may even just be like a rental office, and then the other side, I guess you could see.
Professional offices of some sort.
Yeah, it's definitely not set up for retail. It was definitely offices. You could maybe get like a dentist in there or something, although there's a lot going on in Union Street. So Kevin talked about 1758 doing the tenant change. That's the Coldwell Bankers are actually moving into 1758, and then the Coldwell Banker building may become a giant dentist office. So I don't know how much there'll be need for another dentist office, but it might be something. So
That building has changed use probably 3 or 4 times.
the Coldwell Banker building.
Was it initially approved as a real estate? I
I
think.
think the whole building was at one time real estate,
Yeah.
and it's the real estate just kept getting smaller and smaller, and then Ortho New York took over half of it, and now, yeah, the Coldwell Banking is so small that it can move to 1758 Union Street and sell that whole building.
It used to be like their training center for
Yeah.
real estate agents and everything one time.
I think maybe the real estate world is quite different now than it used to be.
Yes.
Yeah.
Everything.
Yeah, it's true. So, you probably see some changes on Union Street. Like Clark and I met with, the Rosana Mart, engineer to go through the county comments. And he's gonna be working on his county permits because the Rosana Mart sits on, Van Antwerp and Union. But I'm thinking probably this spring, you'll see some much needed improvements to that parcel, which were approved by the planning board, worked to the CAC, and now almost a pre-construction building permit. So, yep, Union Street's a busy place. And then, comprehensive plan committee. Do you wanna go ahead?
So, we've been working, we did not meet in December just because we were meeting over Christmas. We couldn't find an alternate time, but we do have a base survey that we're gonna review, this month. Get that out, so we can start getting some public input. We also, are going to begin digging into the individual sections starting, this month as well. So we've been working on the vision statements and some of the objectives. We've been going through the neighborhoods and trying to understand what the town looks like. And I think we're to the point now where we're actually starting to really dig in. Here, the work is happening, and we are still working on a presentation.
Do we need any support for the survey, like software? What do we-
We have talked about that. I think we need to have the expertise but in-house where we are going to leverage the town.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we were gonna see, I know the town used to host a surveying program. We used to have a, membership to a surveying program.
Yeah,
There was a time when we sent out a bunch of surveys.
might be
um,
useful to look into.
Yeah.
If we want to use Qualtrics or SurveyMonkey or something.
If you have a
The
suggestion,
police department will be wanting to use
So
a survey
coordinate with
system.
Jordan.
yeah, I'm open to any suggestions. I mean,
Okay.
we've been focusing on the questions.
Absolutely.
I think before
I did review some of them.
we
You
used SurveyMonkey before, and then we also had another one that we used, which was harder for me to use. Like, I'm very comfortable with SurveyMonkey. But there's lots of them that you can use.
Yeah, last comp plan, we did a survey as well, and it's kind of interesting because the questions are really important if you want to get the information you're looking for, and also too the way it gets distributed. It's a challenge as well.
Absolutely.
Um,
Your analysis is only as good as the data you have.
Yeah. Jack and I sat down yesterday and went through question by question. He had made a lot of notes. And so he's going to just clean up some of the language
Yep.
and make a bunch of things shorter and then probably send out a new draft to everybody for Wednesday.
Yeah, I would
Please
imagine.
add
we
me
need
to that,
Add you
so
to
I'd
the
like to
list.
take a look.
Yep.
Yeah. And again, the copy we have now is really just a draft, and I certainly anticipate that the changes.
Of
to
course.
Some of the questions and stuff, and getting solutions, but certainly feel free to review it.
I'm wondering, are there resources available for sample surveys? I mean, it's not,
There are,
we
yes,
listed a
and
bunch
we
of
looked
other
at them,
things.
yeah.
I thought so, and I know I'd seen some of your agendas that said you're looking at
Yeah.
other work as examples. Well, if you have survey items that are going to, be a if-then,
Yeah.
and then a more advanced survey program might be, one.
Seth,
Oh,
wanna say
yeah.
something?
I think he's trying to say something.
Oh, Seth,
Seth, are you trying to say something?
In the hallway.
oh, you're on your way. Yes, I can hear it from there.
Yeah, that's kind of weird.
The voice from the hallway.
Yeah, it's kind of.
Oh, sorry. The Google Workspace, they already have,
Oh, does that have
has Google,
survey?
it's called Google Forms.
Oh my gosh.
Yes,
you're
I know,
right.
but that still might not be sufficient for the level of analysis we need to do.
Okay.
I mean, I use that in my classrooms, but I wouldn't use that for my research.
Okay.
But thank you.
Yeah, I mean, we're gonna do a couple different forms, and we're also gonna try to reach out and have workshops here at the town hall or with different communities probably in the spring as well. Because again, surveys are a really good tool, but there are a lot of limitations. So we just-
Yeah, and we're thinking initial survey, make some changes, draft up some things, ideas that we can share with the public. get more public input, do some more refining, get more public input. But we did, I think actually we didn't, well, we might have, Jack might have come up with some additional questions, but I don't think we actually came up with any of those questions, like specifically. We looked at Bethlehem, we
teamed.
looked at,
Routine, that's the right word.
we looked at a couple downstate places, I think a couple western state places, and then we combined the questions that we thought were really good for us.
Perfect.
Yeah.
And one thing which Jack and I are gonna look at is that Bethlehem's questions, they made a document which was really interesting, where they analyzed their answers and kind of analyzed what they meant for the question to be gathering data and how the question actually worked. So after we come up with our draft, we're gonna go back through the Bethlehem document that kind of really went into the different ways that the survey collected data, and then just double check that our questions are going to do what we want them to do, you know, because the Bethlehem had done this huge analysis.
Yes, the content validity.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's cool. We have a lot of good resources out there for the survey, and the draft was obviously done by, well, not obviously to you guys, but the draft was done by Joe Dresser, the one that we went to.
Great.
So he's been working hard already for us.
I didn't see that on his resume. Is that on his resume? Oh,
Well, I appreciate all the work that's going into this and the volunteers dedicating their time, and
Yeah.
we're making good progress.
Yeah, I mean, the hard, heavy lifting is yet.
Oh, yes.
You know,
It's a big undertaking.
yeah.
It- it-
Probably the
We'll get
biggest,
there.
it's probably the biggest undertaking that one of our committees does, right?
I was
It's
laughing.
intense, it's intense.
Yeah.
I'm assuming there will also be, follow-up focus groups to collect more
Yeah.
qualitative
Yeah.
data.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, at this stage, there are things in the plan that we can start working on, which I would like to start working on. But, there are things that need to change. I mean, clearly the town is a different town than it was 10 years ago. The focus is shifting a little bit. You can see that on certain things.
Well, I certainly hear, when I speak to residents and developers, and, parents and schools, we have families who are, people who are returning to Niskayuna, people who grew up here, went away to school, who are returning and raising their children, and their interests and motivations are, unique. They're different than, I would say, maybe others who have lived here, and
Yeah.
so it's just interesting. I think I'm eager to see the survey results and the qualitative data to
Yeah.
really get a sense.
One of the things we learned in 2013, which was kind of interesting, and we sort of suspected this, but everybody said you go to Niskayuna for the schools,
Yeah.
and that was the main draw. And when we put the survey out, we found that was part of the draw, but there's a whole variety of other things, and that really provided us, sort of the foundation to go after, certain things like talk about the neighborhoods and stuff, because people do move in because they like the neighborhoods, they like the sense of community. So there's a whole slew of stuff. So these surveys are excellent.
I'm so excited to see how it develops and the analyses.
Yeah, that, I think, really, the result of those surveys focused the direction in the last comprehensive plan more towards our parks and the interconnectivity of the
Yeah.
neighborhoods, the trails, and so, yeah, that was really key.
Yeah, and you look at the interconnectivity, and now, 10 years forward, it's even more of a
Bigger.
desire.
Yeah. Absolutely. Great work. Thank you, guys.
Yeah, we'll definitely send you the draft of the survey, Jamie, and if you have experience, then add questions and send. Yeah, because
Yeah,
you'll be really good at that. Be very helpful. Okay, so building department, just following up to you guys in December, he finalized the vacant zombie property MOU, and the local law was adopted. Ken went out a couple days after and did the first step on, I think, 7 homes that we had identified as the highest priority, and so the process has started on them. And we're going to meet again with the land bank on, I think, January 17th, and go over some of the things that we found from our initial zombie home survey, some questions that we have, and I think so far aside from a couple little questions that we got to ask for the land bank, it seems to be going well. The second thing that we have to do, so that was like sort of the top 7, is that we're gonna do one inventory for kind of all the homes we have on our vacant list so that we can send out that $200 registration requirement for vacant homes. So we haven't started that, but we did start the top 7, and we'll probably start the remainder of them next week. We're short-staffed with our building inspectors this week, but seems to be fine. So we're working on that.
And is Ken a part of the inventory process?
Yeah, I mean, they can both do it. I'm gonna cross-train them, but Ken takes a pretty specific interest in the vacant homes, and I think he sort of likes it. So I'm sending him out on most of the inspections. I mean, I'll obviously cross-train both of them, but he's been doing the lion's share of them right now. And then Kevin kind of touched on them with his ledge updates. And then Clark's been preparing metrics for 2022. We have through 3rd quarter. He is happy to do the whole year. If you guys are interested, and then we can mail it out to you. And then I did receive a quote for the Council Road sidewalk, which I meant to put in the packet. And it was incredibly high.
Oh.
And this is just for that engineering. I shared it with Matt, and I just like, I'm going to get another one. I feel like it's
Prohibitively
It
high.
was like,
Well, it's a tricky area because you've got, where they gotta put a culvert underneath the sidewalk, or if you don't encroach too much on the front lawn.
so the survey was the highest part of the quote. But it was way higher than I thought it was gonna be. Here. Oops. Oops. On that. Mhm.
Well, I gotta be sure to go check that little orange square out.
There's 4 of them. So it came back for the engineering at $29,550. The survey itself, which they actually subcontract, was $10,500. Preliminary design, $9,800.
It's only like 50 yards long.
I mean, I could be wrong, and I'm really hoping
Ten
that
Mine
it's
too.
wrong.
What's the?
I don't know. I'm gonna try and get more because that's obviously way beyond our budget. We just can't do that.
Yeah,
So
that's more than probably that would cost to do the construction.
no, the construction would probably be based on Plum Street, which is 1 block, which wouldn't even come under 50,000. The construction is probably upwards of 70, maybe even more. But you know, I don't know. I'm not a surveyor. That just seems like a lot for a surveyor.
It's not gonna be, it wouldn't be worth doing probably at that price.
Well, we only have like
That seems
300
really,
others.
really high.
Which is unfortunate, because that would be nice. That's kind of a,
I know, we're still working on it.
yeah.
So I'll try and get another one. See if this one was just
All
totally
right.
out of the ballpark, or
Yeah.
if another one that I get is that high, that'll give us a real quick sense of
Thank you.
what that's gonna be. Before we jump to Elena, I think you guys probably heard when I'm introducing him, but Dr. Horton is our Metroplex representative. He's just listening today, but maybe in a couple meetings he will be able to give us some updates on Metroplex. So very excited that he was able to join us.
Very good. Good to have you, Doc.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
Okay, go ahead, Elena.
I actually don't have an update. December
still
was
not
pretty
done.
quiet.
Yeah.
We haven't heard back on any of the outstanding items, so. Sure, we'll start to think about, you know, the holidays are over, but last month was quiet.
Just wondering if, because court cases theoretically impact people's lives, like at least in the one, the guy's holding off on the building permit until, you know, the judge makes a determination. Do they have any?
He doesn't have to.
He doesn't have
He's
to.
choosing to do that.
But do the courts have any requirement on the timeframe that they have to respond to things?
I really should know.
It's a very large window. So the big window of the time frame.
It is. Okay, well, we'll just keep waiting then, I guess.
And the other one came in before that one.
Yeah, I know. Okay, what do you
Two
got,
different
Sonny?
judges.
Well, I don't really have much to report on either, but I would recommend people read the latest Gleanings article, which is in the Yarnski and be in the Gazette on Monday. And interestingly enough, it's about the roads in this field. It may say something about the comprehensive plan. And the title Ben Spear used, I don't know whether the Gazette used it or not, the title he used was "No roads lead to this field." The idea, we've got a lot of roads here, but most of them go through Niskayuna, or the major ones go through Niskayuna. And I actually think that says something about Niskayuna. You know, you're not going to Niskayuna to go to a supermarket necessarily, or a shopping center or something like that. You're coming to Niskayuna because you live there. But anyway,
You'll have to
recommend
read
you
it.
read.
Yeah, that was, I actually read it last night. That was interesting.
Did they use that time? I haven't seen it.
I read it very.
Yeah.
Dennis had given me this and I forgot to go through when I was going through the resolutions, but I'm guessing that your members must have more than 1-year terms,
Yeah, 3-year.
3-year terms. So he does have members that need to be reappointed. So
We'll need to discuss
Yeah.
that. We should set up a meeting.
so
Because I was reviewing that along
Okay.
with Elena yesterday.
Okay.
We have some questions.
so let
Well, we're gonna go to the organizational meeting, what do we discuss?
That's a big.
Yes.
change. I don't know why we did it so big, but
I
maybe
agree.
like
There's
it.
only about 8 left, don't forget.
Yeah,
It was originally 15.
that's true.
I
That's
mean, if we can't make it for the organizational meeting,
The organizational meeting had it's already done.
yeah,
So we'll be for the January 24th.
anyway. So we'll put it on to the regular and then you guys can just kind of decide what you want to do there. Okay, so there were 2 added there. Or, well,
Yep, I got that.
actually both of those are tentative, but, yeah. Actually, all 3 are tentative, but. I have I, at the end, put my vacancy list, which I always have. It's updated to all of the appointments that we talked about. And it's much less than it's been in a little while. So I'm very appreciative to all the work that you guys have been doing to gather the boards. But just real quick for anybody listening, zoning board, 1 vacancy, CAC, 1 vacancy, tree council, 2 vacancies, complete streets committee, 2 vacancies, climate smart community task force, 2 vacancies, and architectural review board, 2 vacancies.
And that's after our
Our whole
resolutions
list
to
put
put
together.
everybody in.
Yep.
All
So the
right.
nice thing is CAC used to be at 3 and we're down to 1.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
that's
that's
very
cool.
exciting.
Good.
CAC needs people.
All right.
And the other nice thing is complete streets, climate smart, I think tree council are 9. So when they have 2 vacancies, they actually still have 7 people. So they're pretty functional even with 2 vacancies.
Excellent. Well, all right. Is there anything further for the good of the committee order?
Anything else?
Well, seeing none, I'll make a motion to adjourn. Any opposed? We are adjourned and Happy New Year.
thank you.
Happy New Year.
Happy New
What
Year.
I thought was interesting about that article.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Great pick.
Thank you,
I finally got
John.
one.
Be your best.
Yeah, that was kind of interesting, and the other.
Take care, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye.
My pleasure. See you next month.
See you next month, Doug. Thank you.
It was an interesting article.